Okay, this is the self-test for Unit 9, Energy of Reactions. The first question here says, in order to calculate rate, what two factors concerning a reaction must be known? So if we go back to the very first page of the unit, page 2, we have that rate equals change in amount over change in time. So you would need to measure the amount and the time. The amount could be different things like grams, moles, concentration, and time could be things like seconds, minutes, hours, days, whatever you want there. What's the basic equation? Well, I just showed you that. Rate is equal to the change in amount over the change in time. So how much reacted and how much time. We can rearrange this pretty easily to solve for time or for amount. So let's start by solving this for amount. So let's say the question said how much after reacted at this rate over some amount of time. Since I'm dividing by time here, I could use algebra to multiply both sides by time, and I would end up with rate times time is equal to amount. And then my third way to solve this would be for the variable time. So since right now it's time times rate, I could divide both sides by rate, and I end up with time equals amount divided by rate. So these are all the same equation, just solved for a different variable. Since there's three variables, there's three ways to write it. Okay, so let's read the question. It says, exactly 34 grams of ammonia are formed in a chemical reaction after 2 minutes. Calculate the rate in grams per second. So it looks here like I have my amount is 34 grams. My time is 2 minutes. And the rate that I'm wanting to calculate in is grams per second. So you're going to get 5 points for this question on the test. The first point is simply writing down the equation that you're going to use. So since I'm trying to calculate rate in grams per second, I would simply write that down. The next point is plugging in the variables that you've identified. So the amount is 34 grams divided by a time of 2 minutes. Minutes. It wants this, however, in seconds. So I need to change this to seconds. For every 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. So now I essentially have 34 grams divided by 120 seconds. When you put this in your calculator doesn't know what a significant figure is. So we have to use our brains as humans to know that originally this 2 minutes had 3 significant figures and this 34 grams had 3 significant figures. So I can keep 3 off my calculator. Recall that the 0 in the front is not significant, it's a placeholder. So you would have 0.283. So if you had just 0.28, I would accept it as a point, but having the correct significant figures as written is another point. And then the last or fifth point is for the correct unit of grams per second. So every single part of this then is necessary to earn full points. Same thing in the next one. I'm going to read it. It says if nitric oxide reacts with ozone at a rate of this many grams per second, how long would it take for 1.5 grams to react? Show all your work. So I have a rate this time. It gives me that of grams per second. Time is how long. I'm looking for that. That's my question mark. And I have an amount of 1.5 grams. So 1 point for writing down the correct equation. I'm solving for time. So that would be time equals the amount divided by the rate. The amount it gave us was 1.50 grams divided by a rate of 0.0200 grams per second. So I can see here that grams and grams are going to cancel, and I'll be left with seconds. Again, when I put this in my calculator, it has no idea about significant figures. So it's going to give me 75.00000, but how many of those zeros can we actually have? So if you have 75 here, it's not wrong, but it's not a point for significant figures. There are 3 here and 3 here. This only has 2, so I need to add a 0.0 to have all 3 significant figures, and the unit that's left is seconds. Okay. The next thing says collision theory. So we learned about how each of these affect collisions and the rate, and to sketch a graph. So explain in terms of collision theory how concentration affects rate. So if I have my graph of concentration versus rate, as concentration goes up, the amount of molecules increases, therefore the collisions increases, therefore it gets faster. So this would be a straight line for rate. Ms. Rogers, when we went back over here, but this graph that we made of concentration goes down. That's because this is of time. So remember that concentration versus time is going to go down, and that's inverse. But that's leading then to a direct relationship between concentration and rate. So be careful. This graph of concentration versus rate is direct. As one goes up, the other goes up. But if I had concentration versus time, that would go this way, and that would be indirect. Okay? So your sentence here should use the word collisions. So if concentration increases or decreases, then the number of collisions will increase. Therefore, the rate will increase. So some key things here to my sentence that I've written with a capital in a period is if concentration increases, so if, then the number of collisions, therefore the rate will increase. So I know you've practiced this maybe in elementary, but in middle school of claim, reasoning, what's the last one? Explanation. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the next one. Explain in terms of collision theory how temperature affects rate and sketch a graph. So you would be saying something similar. If temperature increases, the molecules move faster, and the collisions occur more frequently. Therefore, the rate will increase. Okay, so if I have temperature versus rate and temperature versus time, if temperature goes up, rate goes up. If it's going faster, then the amount of time it would take would be less. So that one is inverse. Okay. Next question is very similar, except this time it's asking about surface area, affects rate, and sketch a graph. So I'm going to have my graphs here. If surface area increases, then there will be more collisions. Therefore, the rate will increase. Time will decrease. So surface area versus rate, surface area versus time. If I have more spots for collisions, it occurs more quickly, rate goes up, which means it takes less time. Okay, the next one is asking to define activation energy and explain how a catalyst affects the rate of a reaction. So my first part, to define activation energy is the energy needed to start a reaction. A catalyst affects rate by lowering the amount of energy, the amount of activation energy needed. So if I was to draw a graph to represent this, it would look very similar to this graph that's here. I have some kind of energy needed over time. If I have some reactants and I need for it to occur, so here's my amount of activation energy that I need to put in, how does the catalyst affect that? It literally just lowers this amount. So the catalyst will lower the amount of activation energy needed to make it easier to occur. Okay. Number 9 said label the following arrows with the missing words and label which one is exothermic and which is endothermic. So I've got my reactants and products. The amount from where it starts to the top of the curve is the activation energy in both of these, so the amount of energy necessary. The energy here, this is the amount of energy that is stored or released. So afterwards here, there is less energy than you started with. So that energy had to be released to the surroundings. So this is energy released or lost, whereas this one is energy gained or put in because now the products have more energy than it started with. So if I release energy, that is exothermic, and if I gain energy, that is endothermic. Okay, we learned some stuff about the 3 laws. The first law was you can't create or destroy energy. The second law was that any spontaneous reaction is going to increase the disorder of a system. And the last one is that absolute zero is when everything stops moving. So how does that go along with these 3 things that are on the bottom? So for number 10, which statement below is true concerning absolute zero? If it's at absolute zero, it is not moving and therefore has no disorder. So that is the definition of entropy. So that is true. A system at absolute zero has no molecular motion. Well, I just said that because it's at 0, so that's true. But those of you who are good at multiple choice questions, if more than one is true, it must be E, but let's keep going. A system at 0 contains no heat energy. That is also true. A system at absolute 0 has a temperature of negative 273. We learned that back in last semester, and so all of the above is the correct answer. Okay, and the next one, the easiest way to look at this is to see where the energy is. Is it on the left, which is the reactants, or is it on the right, which is the products? So in each of these, the energy here is a reactant, it's a reactant, it's a product, it's a product, and it's a product. So if energy is being put in, your change in H is going to be positive. So I'm gaining energy. So my change in energy here is going to be a positive 22 kilocalories because I'm putting energy in order for this reaction to occur. Same thing for the next one. My change in energy is going to be a positive 12.4 because more energy has been added to the system. And if it's on the right, that means it's been released as a product. It's no longer in the product, so it must be somewhere else, like in your thermometer. So this would be a negative change of 98.3. Same thing for all of these ones that are on, oops, that's an H, on the right. Negative 2,012,800 calories, negative 331 kcal. So again, if it's positive, that's endo. If it's negative, it's exiting, exo. Okay, that's enthalpy. It doesn't even say it here. Change in H is enthalpy. This one down here is entropy. So the measure of disorder of a system is entropy. How disordered is it? So if a crowd leaves a football game, so they were all probably in the stands sitting nice and neat, and now they're driving away in their cars randomly, maybe running into each other. So that would be an increase in disorder. So that would be a positive increase in entropy. Making popsicles, you're going from a liquid to a solid, so the amount of energy in the system is going down, it's slowing down. So my disorder is getting less, so that would be a negative or decrease in entropy. If I burn wood, well, the tree used photosynthesis to make the wood and make it all nice and ordered, and now you're burning it and releasing all those back into the air, so the wood is no longer a piece of wood. It's many other things. So that would be a positive increase in entropy, sorry. Okay, if you make your bed, you have to put energy into making your bed. So it's now more ordered, and by reducing the energy, or by reducing the entropy, it is now more ordered. So that is also a decrease. Okay, you should be spending time making your 3x5 cards, studying for tomorrow's exam. Thanks for watching this video as a review.